Monday morning. Steve Robinson, always nice to get up. How are things on this fine Monday morning?
Oh, fantastic, as always, Matt. How are you?
Indeed. Not bad. Thanks for asking. Appreciate it. So I hate to make this all about me, Steve, but you heard, of course, last week that I had an opportunity to interview Speaker Ryan Fecteau, who came onto my show last Wednesday. And, for those conversations, as you know, I tend to treat them a little relaxed. I don't want the guy to feel too intimidated or scared to come on the show because I'd like him to come back. So I don't usually hit him with too much stuff. But about halfway through that interview, I kind of couldn't take it anymore, and I started asking him a few probing questions about the budget they just passed and the philosophy of what they're doing and exactly what you're getting for all this money you're spending and so on and so forth. And from there, it was a rather entertaining conversation, which I noticed that you noticed. What did you think of what we were talking about?
Yeah, we did notice. I thought it was a very newsworthy interview for a number of reasons. I thought that the fact that the Speaker of the House, who's effectively the third-ranking Democratic official in the state of Maine, had no idea at all how the state of New Hampshire is able to raise as much revenue as they are without having the same punitive and backwards tax structure that the state of Maine does, was very interesting, almost like he's never studied alternative models of raising revenue or alternative models of running state government. I thought that was a very interesting thing for him to say. And then he just repeatedly seemed to totally misunderstand what exactly is happening with our state. Like when he brought up test scores for our schools, and he acknowledged that the test scores for our schools are going down, but said, well, that's not the only thing that you need to worry about. Graduation rates you need to worry about as well. And it's like, okay, Ryan, well, what are graduation rates like?
Right, exactly. And I mean, besides, when your bar is low for graduation, it's not like a metric worth bragging about that you graduated. I mean, I hate to insult Maine high schools, but that's kind of been part of the story, is the fact that in order to accommodate. Sorry, go ahead, Steve.
And when you control what that bar is,
right? Yeah,
you can make that as low as possible. So it seemed. I'll say, I thought prior to the interview, I kind of bought into some of the hype that potentially Ryan was getting ready to run for Senate against Susan Collins. Not anymore. I don't believe that at all.
Yeah.
I think he's reached his Peter principle. I think that Speaker of the House, that is as high as he'll ever go. And he's lucky to have gotten that far.
Well,
Steve, I was actually shocked. I thought he had much more media skill, or much more savvy, or at least more knowledge, really, than he displayed during that interview.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, that's why I engaged with him, because I figured I'd get something back and we could have a little back and forth, which would have been fun. But it was sort of shocking to me, the education part especially, that, first of all, he starts saying things like, I'm not a good test taker, and tests don't tell you everything, as though somehow Maine students are uniquely not good at taking tests. Like other states around the country don't have the same per capita proportion of kids that aren't good test takers, like something special or different about us. It just highlighted to me, though, Steve, that this is the same kind of story in the song and dance we've heard from the Mills administration about those failing test scores. When those numbers started going down, you heard Pender Macon, you heard Mills, you saw what they were talking about, talk about how there's other metrics we need to care about, because the ones that they're failing on suddenly aren't important. They were important like a couple years ago, but now they're not, because we're not doing good. So let's find other things we might be doing good at and talk about them instead. It's like a head fake, right? It's like It's a way of trying to distract from their own failure, and who is calling them out on it? It's very frustrating that they somehow are getting away with this. All Janet Mills talks about is funding education at 55%, and the results are failing miserably.
But I don't even know that they are getting away with it, though, because like with Speaker Fecteau's interview, where he insists on talking about graduation rates, and those still don't tell a great story about Maine's education system. Even if you pivot to the numbers that the Mills administration wants to pivot to, it still doesn't tell a really good story. And I've said this before on your show and elsewhere. Tell me, what is the measure of social science or economics or political science by which the state of Maine has improved over the last 6 years?
Yeah, I
Like,
don't have a good answer.
Is it what measure? If we're looking at poverty, measurements of poverty or school performance or prosperity or happiness, like what exactly is the measure where we've improved? So let's play the game, and let's you can twist the numbers and measure it however you want, do whatever you want, and just show me some improvement. I don't think you can do it. So I guess I don't blame them for having to play that game, but I still don't think that it works.
Yeah, and ultimately that was the source of my main question, which is, what are we getting for all this money? I mean, we have increased the state budget by like 65% in the course of Janet Mills' time in office. And if you go back in time to before she came in office, does your life feel all that different than it did then? Like, are the roads better? Are the schools better? Is stuff feeling better in the state? And I would say that most people think that it's at the best no different, and at the worst it's worse. It's certainly not better.
The attorney general's office is soundproof now, and Rachel Talbot Ross's sister's nonprofit has a few $10,000 more kicking around.
Well, the Bangor Daily News is happy it's getting a little bit of kickback from some of those.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
There's a little bit of that going on, I suppose. So I guess in some places it is a brighter story. Steve Robinson joining us as he does on Mondays, which we always appreciate. Steve, in the couple minutes we have left here, obviously the big, beautiful bill passed and was signed on the 4th of July by the president. I know that Susan Collins has already become a somewhat confusing little player in this game here. I noticed that the Maine Democratic Party went on a tweet storm talking about how she basically supported the bill. Like, it's all her fault because she said yes to it. And when I was watching TV yesterday, I was watching a baseball game, and I saw some ads by, of course, one of these shadowy groups like America's Majority or whatever, running ads saying this is all Susan Collins' fault. She voted for it, and, that's a little surprising to me given the fact that she voted against it. What the hell's going on here? Can you kind of clear this up for me a bit?
Well, I mean, I think they had the ad already prepared, thinking she was going to vote for it, and then she voted against it. And it's like, if you've already got the ad prepared, you might as well run it anyways. Who cares if it's not accurate? The same goes for the tweet storm. I mean, when have the Maine Democrats ever cared about something being accurate on their Facebook page? So, I think that they can.
Well, you do care that you're getting ridiculed, though, don't you? I mean, because they tweeted that out, and it was merciless, the replies.
Well, yeah, I think that what they'll claim is that her vote on a procedural motion to allow the vote to actually occur was her effectively voting for it to pass. That's what they'll say, I suppose, but I don't really think that flies. And I also think that maybe there was a little bit of a wink and a nod with Senator Collins voting against this for political reasons, knowing that when the numbers came down to it and J.D. Vance showed up, it was going to pass. I ultimately don't think, there might be some provisions in it that she didn't want to pass, but I don't think that she was totally against the bill in and of itself. I think one of the bigger consequences to come out of it could be this rift between Elon Musk and Donald Trump.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's a real rift or not. It could be just playing it up in order to mitigate Elon Musk as an attack vector in the 2026 elections, make it appear as if there's some schism here. But if Elon does decide to take his America PAC and his political money and some of the intelligence and information he's gathered during the 2024 election and use that to form like a third party, it could have a little bit of a spoiler effect. But so far from what we've seen, it's been kind of comical in that the America Party was registered by some Indian guy from Illinois or something like that. It's actually been kind of amusing. So I don't know how real his efforts to start a third party are going to be, but you would much rather, if you're a MAGA person, you would much rather see him, broing it out with Donald Trump at a UFC fight or something, squarely on the same side, rather than at odds. But I'll say that looking through the big, beautiful bill so far, seems an awful lot like business as usual. Seems an awful lot like something you might get from Jeb Bush and Paul Ryan.
Yeah, I completely agree about that. I know that we're wicked short on time here, so maybe a minute or less on this one, Steve. But you've been doing obviously a lot of reporting for a long time. You've released the documentary on the Chinese Communist Party's infiltration of rural Maine here, which is now being distributed on the Tucker Carlson network. Go over to asmainegoes.com to check out the Robinson Report, where you can find a lot of that stuff and get links and everything. One thing, though, that I want to ask you about in the 1 minute we do have here is about the fallout from that and what next. And it, as I think you and I have said a few times here in the last several weeks, there is this curious case of a U.S. attorney not being named, to our district here. And that person is kind of necessary to go after a lot of the things that are being identified by your reporting here. We need somebody to kind of really take the ball and run with it. And someone needs to be in that spot. And yet it persists vacant. Tell me more.
Yeah, we need to have a U.S. attorney for a number of reasons. We don't really have an attorney general in this state. We have an attorney general who just kind of like sues Exxon and, files amicus briefs for transvestites in West Virginia. So barring that, we need a law enforcement official, and that's the U.S. attorney for the District of Maine. And so Trump needs to make that nomination or around the time when historically those nominations have been made. So that process needs to be played out so that a lot of law enforcement activity can occur, whether it's corrupt NGOs stealing money from Mainers or Chinese organized crime. And if people actually want to see the documentary, they can go to tuckercarlson.com, and it's right there on the homepage next to his upcoming interview with the president of Iran.
Worth checking out today. Thanks a lot, Steve, as always, and make sure you check out the Maine Wire and the Robinson Report as well. We'll talk to you again next Monday, sir. Thanks a lot.